Hey mates, welcome to the Hitout. I'm your host, Phoenix Trinidad, and if you are new here, this is Zero Hangers weekly AFL podcast, and it is the penultimate episode of this podcast because we are recapping the grand final. Congratulations to the Brisbane Lions, the 2025 premiers. We're talking about that, the finals MVP. We're also doing the wash-up for Melbourne and Port Adelaide, and we play draft matchmaker for the Bulldogs, Hawthorn, and Gold Coast. So, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We have heaps of AFL content coming out, even though the grand final's over. Footy doesn't stop. We have draft, we have trade period, we have so much stuff coming out, lots of interviews as well. So stay tuned. But for now, let's get into the hit out. Alrighty, grand final week. Aidan, Cellini, Mitch, Keating. I'm starting with a bone to pick. The absolute entitlement that I was accosted with this morning. I came into the office, walked up to Mitch. I said, he's a Geelong supporter. I said, condolences. I'm very sorry for your loss. It was very hard. I hope your weekend was okay. I hope you're all right. And then Mitch's response was just like, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't, like, it wasn't that. It didn't really hurt. It didn't hurt at all.
That's what
I said. Didn't hurt at all.
It probably wasn't as big of a blow as, like, if you told me that pre-game how I'm feeling. Because, like, the way the game ended, it was just, all the pain was out of me by halfway through the last. Like, it all came that quickly. And it was just so somber post-game, of course. But it was just like, it wasn't like 2020. When 2020, game in our hands, and then Dustin Martin just did Dustin Martin things.
Yeah, he probably reasoned with it quicker.
Yeah, but that's just entitlement, isn't it? Privilege.
Well, yeah, because he
to lose a grand final and feel like okay with it.
Because they're going to be back next year.
I feel like if I was at
exactly.
I didn't go to the games. I feel like if I was at the game, it would have been a different vibe as well. Like just whole, watching it from off a TV is a bit different. It wasn't like a massive day for me anyway. So
yeah. Well, what was your dad?
We're at a mate's place for the start of the game, and then obviously because we've got an 8-week-old daughter, we popped over to the in-laws at about quarter time. So, pardon me. So it wasn't like this big piss up anyway. It was pretty tame, which obviously made a bit of a difference too, I think.
Right.
So
you would.
So it's well in the memory, but it's I've moved on quickly.
I probably wouldn't have come into work.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah. Where did you watch it?
Worked actually at my parents' house as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I spent the afternoon there. And it was live logging the game and keeping in touch with what was going on.
Did you do a barbie? Did you do charcuterie board?
Charcuterie board, and yes, all the cheeses, all the cured meats, and even the olives as well. And then we did a seafood pasta, which was
marinara.
Okay. Yeah, seriously, yeah.
Red sauce or white sauce?
White. Hadn't had that.
It's not
for
bad.
a while.
I prefer red sauce.
Yeah.
I'm not big on seafood, so I didn't even know if you have red sauce or white sauce with seafood pasta.
Like what seafood don't you eat?
The weird thing is I eat sashimi.
Yeah.
I'll eat sashimi.
That's fine.
I won't eat flake from a fish and chip shop. Yeah. I'll eat prawn crackers, but I won't eat prawns.
Prawn crackers aren't seafood.
I was going to say
it's got prawn in it.
What says it does.
Yeah. It's also got a bunch of other stuff. I watched the grand final. Thanks for asking.
We were getting there. I just wanted to find out about the seafood first.
I was at Mona Castle, Libba's pub.
I did see I saw your Insta story.
Sorry?
I saw your Insta story.
Yep.
Yeah.
I tagged Catman in it. Was wearing the Catman shirt. We don't have to get into that. Sovereign citizen.
I hinted this like 3 weeks ago when you got that shirt. You're like, we should get him on. I'm just like.
Yeah. I felt pretty silly wearing that after halftime. But it's pretty good. I've never been there. Really nice.
Yeah.
It was a lot more, because it was, it's Footscray, it's Libba. I thought it was going to be a bit more like a country pub vibe, a bit more raggedy.
Grungy?
A bit more grungy, but it's quite a nice establishment.
So you're surprised with Libba's work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's just association by name and not personality, but it did have a lot of nice like old Footscray stuff on the wall, and
that's cool.
But actually like quite tame, a lot more tame than I thought it was going to be, because like
that's the vibe I didn't expect.
Yeah. So because I was going with my partner who's from New Zealand, this is their first grand final day. She doesn't know anything about the sport, and I was like, well, we should do it at a pub. Yeah. Because that you'll feel the energy. It'll be nice and rowdy and whatever, but it was just kind of chill.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we talk about the actual game? Or our thoughts?
Probably like what helped me post game was knowing that we weren't the better side by some margin as well. Obviously a nice close game at halftime, but it still felt like Brisbane were up on us. And Zach Bailey just probably could have capitalised on 1 or 2 extra ones, and that would have been convincing at the main break. When Lachie Neale kicked that goal, that was it.
Yeah.
That was just like, not only does that put that certain margin at reach, that's going to be a little hard, but like that is one of the biggest momentum builders I've seen. While they already were kind of carrying some that I can remember in like a grand final. So yeah, that from then it was just kind of like, maybe that's when I checked out a bit, and I was just like, all right, well, we're not winning this.
Yeah.
So that was significant.
Kind of played out similarly to last year for the Lions. Like Sydney were kind of wrestling with them, but Brisbane just put the foot on the throat from pretty early on. And then once, the Cats and like Sydney did last year yielded, Brisbane just took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
And were just intoxicating the way they played football. Like even there was about 2 or 3 occasions where they're all running into open goals. It was Bailey, it was McCluggage, obviously Levi Ashcroft as well. It was almost like the same. And you can just see Geelong were just deflated and defeated halfway through the third and obviously the last as well. So I think, it was pretty special performance from Brisbane, but obviously commiseration to Geelong.
Yeah. And like, I'm back on Neale. Like that half, you double it. I know that's kind of unfair for like, you don't just double someone at half of stats, but if you did it, that's the best grand final performance
That's a
of the century, probably since Ablett 89.
Yeah.
Obviously I didn't watch much 90s footy, but just going off.
Yeah, well, you were born in 2009?
Yes, I did get to see the second flag. Yeah, thank you.
And just
child labour laws are really fine here.
We've come a long way. Yeah, I thought it was great. I the first quarter was unreal. I thought like the pressure from both sides was really good, and then it just opens up.
Yeah.
Brisbane. Yeah, I thought they were pretty much from halftime. They were going to win it. I don't know. I felt like Geelong were doing okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
The issue came down to Cameron being off, and then like Harrison Andrews just gave Shannon Neale a bath all game. So when like Geelong midfielders looked up for a target, like they kept kicking it to Harris Andrews, and then eventually they put Reece Stanley forward of the ball. Yeah. And it was pretty hopeless. Both the possession and then like once it got near him, it was just too slow compared to Brisbane's defenders, and they cleaned up. Like Dane Zorko in that was a third term was just like everywhere. So I think that was obviously quite significant. Like Cameron off 18 minutes, and it was a tricky call for the Cats to make because he's probably your most important player. And it looked like he could have played with one arm, and then he has that tackle and then he hurts it again.
Which was like, if you ended up winning, that would have been the grand final moment.
Yeah, it was just
like of all time.
Yeah.
But shout out to Brisbane's defense. That was unreal. Like kept them to, what was it? I can't even remember what the score was in the end. But
75 points.
75.
But they kicked a couple of junk time
goals
in the last 2 minutes.
I think Geelong had kicked over 100 or over 105 or something in the every finals game.
Yeah,
this year or something.
Yeah, they've been pretty strong.
Yeah,
and I don't think they conceded that high of scores either. Going off the top of my head.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on like how are you actually allowed to what authority do the medical staff have in that moment where Cameron's like clearly, I was doing these ones at the pub, like his arm is like looks like it's hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, I don't know what the go is with like a club's duty of care. Yeah. Like obviously if Cameron says he wants to play on and the doctor says, well, he's got a broken arm or you assumed broken arm, and then it's kind of like you have to have an interesting relationship between the coach and the club doctor, and they have to kind of rely on each other. So obviously the club doctor will tell the coach what's happening, and the coach sometimes might have to make that call if they want him in or not. Obviously a bit different with concussion, but I think there's a little leeway to both, and you kind of just have to understand each scenario and understand what steps to take if you want to take a player out of the game or keep them in it. Because obviously they bandaged up Cameron's arm and then they put a guard on it in the second time. So they tried what they could, but it obviously cost them a bit. But it was going to be hard if they subbed him out anyway, I thought.
But he was getting, I thought, pretty soundly beaten prior to that by Darcy Gardner. So I think that first final, Leicester was on him for 10 minutes in the first quarter. I think he had 5 shots. And they moved Gardner onto him then, and it probably worked for the better part of that game despite Brisbane losing. But Gardner got the job the whole game. Again, maybe prior to his injury, but obviously he was probably deemed, not much hope and not much in terms of being able to compete to their ability that we know Jeremy Cameron to. But I thought, just every player on that Brisbane lineup can definitely hold their head high in terms of they just got it right, and they just came with an attitude of that we're going to continue playing really good football that we have the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I like that this grand final was decided by, well, not decided by it, but all the tiny decisions of like, you know, you play Neil, do you put him on a sub, and then you have like, do you take Cameron off? Like all the different like tiny little decisions that sort of define this grand final, and it's just such a good narrative.
Like even like the Reece Stanley, Mark Blitzov's call, what do you do there? Blitzov's ended up playing on Harris Andrews probably too little too late. It was, you're right. So it was all these kind of calls, although minute initially turned out to be quite big, and obviously led to an 8-goal difference.
Did you listen to Chris Scott's post-game presser?
No, I've seen clips. I haven't watched it.
Yeah. Did you?
No.
Okay.
It was in its entirety, but
sour grapes.
Oh, it was interesting because like I was talking to Chris Scott a lot last week, and I still think he's one of the best coaches of all time. But I don't think I've seen him. He was angry, like he was really angry.
Yeah,
and I don't think I've seen him that. I don't know. It's hard to pick, but I haven't seen him that upset. It was sour grapes, and it was like, I'm not going to make excuses, but it's that classic thing. I'm not going to make excuses, but
he does that a bit.
Here's a couple of excuses.
He does that a bit.
Yeah,
and also like we'll bring something up, but then not want to elaborate further.
But I like when he just takes control. Like he's like spoke first, didn't let any questions come in. I know a lot of coaches do that, but it's such good theatre.
Yeah, did the Ross Lyon technique of just answering everything.
Yeah,
and leaving people with nothing to question, and then it's like, cool, we're out of here.
But yeah, he did mention also the impact of. He alluded to some things that they've been going through as a club, that hasn't been spoken about, and then obviously the stuff that has been spoken about.
I feel like every club has that though. I feel like every club.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah,
or most clubs might have something going on. Like you've got 40 odd people, and that's just the players, and then you've got coaches, and everyone's got personal stuff that they deal with.
Yeah, it's hundreds of people to deal with.
I can't remember thinking, like, I don't know any coaches that have absolutely nailed the post-game presser after losing a grand final. I think it's so hard to, but I can't remember in recent memory who nailed one.
John Longmire's in 22 or 23. It was obviously kind of, I felt sorry for him because you could hear, I think it might have been 23.
Oh, because he heard the team celebrating
24. Because you could hear Brisbane, just belting out the song, and he kind of was pretty composed.
Yeah.
So I can't remember like what he said for the most of the game, but he was level-headed for what would have been a pretty rough, presser to be in.
It was just so un-Geelong-like the whole day. So imagine being the coach of that and known for who you are and being, I guess, one of the teams of the century, and then just putting a performance to that on the day. Obviously, it's made out to be bigger because it's a grand final, but it would have been very difficult to front the media after that. And he's at the best of times, he's always, probably a bit standoffish, and as you said, kind of alludes to certain things, but doesn't explain it too much. And then off the back of that, would have been very short.
Yeah. On the other side of that, then Chris Fagan,
2-time premiership coach. That's as many as Chris Scott. So my question would be, like, let's go back to 2010 when end of 2010, 2011, ahead of 2011 when Chris Scott.
You would have been 6.
Yep. Explain this to me like I'm 5. Let's go end of 2010. So going into 2011, Chris Scott's appointed as coach. Premiership in his first year. He gets another one 11 years later, and is seen as one of the best coaches of his generation. 2010 for Brisbane. I don't really know what was happening at that point, but they went through a few lean years for about 6 or 7 years before Chris Fagan comes in. From the last, let's say 15 years, would you rather have been a Geelong fan and you've gone through, you get maybe that first flag early off the back of some success, and you're always at the top, pretty much, or you're Brisbane and you go through some really tough years, like the Michael Voss, Justin Lepage coaching years. You get Chris Fagan in and you slowly build up. You've had 7 years of 7 finals, and you win back-to-back flags. Like, what would you prefer? Do you think the real tough run at the start, and then you get a couple flags in a row, or sustained success, but you're only getting just as many flags?
Geelong.
Yeah, I think I think Geelong. I think the ecstasy of the build-up is awesome because, like, obviously that's sort of what happened with the Melbourne. Like, we were bad, and then you slowly build up and you finally get the Prem.
Yeah,
we didn't go back to back, obviously, but then and it's huge. But just for my general mental health and to be able to, lose a grand final and then come into the office the next day and be like, that didn't really matter that much. I think I would prefer that. Like,
It's 2 days.
I'm envious.
Don't ask me about Sunday.
Well, I would much rather have a chance every year. Hey, we might win it every year rather than,
100%.
build up but that's the thing. Like, it doesn't look like it's ever going to slow down for Brisbane.
No, it's only going to get
so
better on paper anyway.
yeah.
They get probably Sam Draper and Oscar Allen. And this is the other thing. I wrote Brisbane off of a premiership if they didn't get a Joe Danaher replacement.
Yeah.
Last year they didn't. And I thought, they probably can't fill that hole.
Yeah.
They won it without him, and now they go and get their Joe Danaher replacement.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Without Eric Hitwood as well. So you got Ty Gallup, Logan Morris, and Oscar McInerney. He's your 3 tools.
And you add in Kitty Coleman and Jared Berry and God, who else didn't play?
Hitwood, Tom Duday hasn't played.
Lincoln McCarthy.
The
that's
only
nuts.
saving grace now is like they honestly might have too much, and Melbourne are in the market for key forward, so hopefully we can snag one of them somehow.
I thought the other thing the other week, Eric Hitwood surely should clubs should be coming
Retire?
after him. He's not going to come at that much cost. I don't think he's on a big deal. He's got a few years on that deal, but he's not on a lot of money. Like a club like Melbourne, North Melbourne, just someone who needs a mature, experienced key forward. They don't grow on trees. Because I don't know where he's going to play next year. If they potentially could prioritise Ty Gallup.
How could you not?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't know. And this is the thing with him and I was saying about Levi Ashcroft last year and now Will Ashcroft. Like, they don't actually know what it's like to be bad. And they may never.
No, they might not. Especially for the next few years anyway.
Yeah. And it's just like, I'm going to say arrogance, but I don't mean that in a bad way. But they just have this arrogance about them. Like, they're young, immortal, have never lost. Like, look at Will's kind of all right because he had the ACL and he's kind of gone through that. But you look at Levi and you're like, you're going to be the best forever.
Yeah.
Like, why would you ever be bad?
Yeah. They go and get probably the best midfielder in the draft this year. Through their academy and all that jazz. It's kind of crazy. Like they were a kick-off being a 3-peat side. Yeah. Given how 2023 panned out. So,
Well, it's interesting too with because there's like all the little parallels that you see. Kind of like Jonathan Brown when his first couple of years was in that 3-peat, wasn't it? With Brisbane? Was he here?
It would have been 5 years into his career.
Early.
But it's a similar thing. Like,
started,
imagine being like and talking about Will Ashcroft. First 2 years. You win 2 norms, like full years. Yeah. Like, how do you ever
come down from that?
He's a Hall of Famer in his first, and he's like, he can barely drive a car.
Well, that's
just off his green peas.
That's the discussion. Like, he now just say has an average career from here, which won't happen.
Yeah.
He is a 2-time 2 Norm Smith. Yeah. Or 2-time premiership player, 2-time Norm Smith.
He's 21, isn't he?
21. And you go, if you have an average career from here, you're already locked into the Hall of Fame. Now he's got a decade to probably rival some of the best players ever.
Kids have taken over the awards this year, haven't they? Like Rao would be 24.
Yeah.
Who else won what?
Anderson and Smith won AFL CA.
Yeah, they'd be the same age as Rao, or Smith's a year older. Dacos won what did he
MVP.
Win? He won the Players MVP, did he? There you go.
So it's really passing of the guard. Yeah,
question without notice. You're probably going to be a bit too biased for this, but Will Ashcroft or Nick Dacos?
It's Nick Dacos.
It's still Nick,
Dacos. But like put Nick Dacos in Will Ashcroft's shoes. Could you imagine Nick Dacos playing for Brisbane?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's like nothing against Will. I actually like Will over Nick Dacos, but like I don't think that's an argument.
I would only say Nick because he's had 3 probably deserving Brownlow medal winning years. Yeah. And obviously fallen short each time.
So do you think...
Whereas Will, admittedly, he's a superstar and 2 norms is no easy feat, but that's in a span of one game. And obviously now Gary Ayres and those kind of finals awards as well obviously encapsulate like a month of football, whereas Dacos has done it for 23 weeks, 3 seasons in a row.
Dacos did have Norm Smith votes. I think he polled 4 votes. I don't know.
And they've obviously only played the one granny, so
but
it's not obviously a big gap, and it never was. But once Ashcroft obviously starts putting years together, and it's going to be difficult because obviously his team clearly been in 3 consecutive grand finals, is there's stars all over. So to be in contention in Brownlow, you got to beat out Hugh McCluggage. Lachie Neale is a 2-time Brownlow medal winner.
Yeah.
Josh Dunkley, Zach Bailey's even getting votes, even Rona. So like they all take each other votes, whereas Dave Costa is probably the lone soldier in terms of that. I think he was like 25 votes from Collingwood's next best on Brownlow medal night. So
Yeah.
it does probably skew in his favour in that sense, but I think the gap is very, very minor.
Will Ashcroft's better. I just think it's going to be one of those things where, like, if Will Ashcroft ends up with a better career, like more accolades, Vic's media is going to have a meltdown.
Oh,
that.
100%.
Like, it's, Anyway.
100%.
Thoughts on Snoop Dogg?
Seemed alright.
Yeah.
I didn't get like a whole. I was kind of watching it, but I didn't get the whole vibe because there's a lot of people around.
Yeah.
At my mate's place, but like, I haven't seen a bad word about it. Seemed like a lot
No,
of people.
I think
as surprised
it.
people that probably didn't vibe with it said it was actually kind of okay.
Yeah, that's what I gleaned from it.
Yeah.
Kind of surprising, not surprising.
Mm.
The AFL gets this big figure to perform how we're expecting to perform, and kind of not to that extent.
Yeah.
Which kind of then suits probably the day itself as opposed to maybe what he would have done at the Super Bowl. But yeah, good.
Yeah.
I like the run in as well. His interviews and how he was saying he loved the game and he understands. Again, I know it's all probably media jargon, but it sounded like, and definitely the outcome was that he understood what the day was going to be about and wasn't necessarily so Americanized. Although he's such a major figure.
Mm. I thought it was like, just from a purely musical show thing performance. I think I'm the most artistic on this panel, but he nailed it. Like, it's very but it was very Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I liked that, but obviously it didn't have the budget of a Super Bowl show.
Also,
like they couldn't move the stage in the middle of it.
It's also during the day. It just doesn't add to it much.
Yeah.
Night looks so much better.
I like watching it now. I think I'm slowly coming to the idea of a Twilight Grand
Me
Final.
too.
Like, I honestly,
Me too.
if we're gonna do this, if we're gonna spend $2 million and taxpayer money and all that, I think we may as well just have it at Twilight.
As in, are you talking about because the entertainment's one thing, but the game as well? Like,
In the game.
Yeah.
but the thing is, if you do Twilight, then when do you put the entertainment? Because it's still going to be light before the game. Do you do a
let's do
halftime
night
show?
then.
The halftime, but
I
also
hated.
too
I like
difficult.
Twilight. I prefer Twilight. I'm not like a big has to be Twilight, but I prefer Twilight than day. I hate night because 2020 was the longest day of my life. It was
then-
like it took
and then-
It's not all about
forever.
you, mate.
And
It
then-
took
no, then
no,
Geelong
but
lost
like
as well.
it just took forever.
Yeah, but like
Twilight. I'm happy
for the
with
D's
Twilight.
one, we had like 2 weeks of waiting.
Yours was Twilight, but that was over there, so it was night.
Yeah.
Our night,
in
yeah.
Melbourne.
Well, Melbourne.
Yeah, but
night.
there was didn't we have a pre-grand final bye?
Yeah, we did that
Well,
too.
yeah.
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 COVID, right?
That was way worse, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
2021. But no, Twilight, yes. Even some of the prelims as well over the years have done Twilight. I'm
Yeah.
like, I could see this being
Yeah, I
Grand
prefer
final.
Twilight for sure.
definitely.
Okay. Finals MVP. Zero
Yeah.
hanger. Are we done with the
So-
game? Was that any
Yeah,
other
I think that was enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It'll be analysed to death anyway.
Keep talking about the game in this bit anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, just like our season MVP, we voted for 4 of us voted 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so max 20 votes. Grand final was worth 2 times though, so it does kind of stretch a little bit, but I feel like, given it's the season decider, probably worth a little bit extra. And that way you don't have someone who played like 2 finals taking it out before the grand finals still to be run. So, drum roll, can you do a sound effect thing or just use your pen? That's a lot of pressure actually. Yeah, Will Ashcroft won it.
Yep.
No real shock there.
No.
There was a September specialist he's coming into.
Yeah, he I can't remember what the margin was. John Newcomb led heading into the grand final, but there was about 4 or 5 Lions who weren't that far off heading into the granny as well. And Will Ashcroft polled 18, so 36 votes of possible 40, and so did Harris Andrews. So I had Harris Andrews as my 5 voter and Will 4. What'd you have?
I had Harris 5. Will
5, 4. So the other 2 voters had Will 5 and Harris 4.
Yep.
So they leveled, but Harris Andrews was 4 votes behind Ashcroft heading into the weekend.
Yep.
So it was pretty close in the way. Like if you kind of change a couple of the votes around, Harris gets the win. John Newcomb finished in 3rd, and Hugh McCluggage, Josh Dunkley, and Ollie Dempsey were in the top 5. The latter 2 tied. And I think McCluggage polled votes in the granny. Dempsey polled votes in the granny. And then Fletcher, Bailey, Neal, and Zorko also got votes in the grand final.
Oh, congratulations, Will Ashcroft. I think that's well deserved. We talked about him a lot, obviously, but yeah, I think that's so far what separates him from the Nick Dacos is that he's had the big moments, the big September performances. And it's just Dacos just not that good compared to Will.
Yeah, no, we'll keep saying that. You have to give plaudits to Will. Absolute star.
Yeah, but Harris Andrews
also star.
Yeah,
like
I at the time when Will Ashcroft got awarded the Norm, my initial reaction was like, no way.
Yeah,
but after looking back at the game and seeing the stats and like what he was doing in the first 2-3 quarters, I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense. But again, Harris Andrews, unreal.
He kept the lines going during that kind of period there when the Cats were still in it. But then obviously, you got the McCluggages. Like even Zach Bailey, I thought was a bit of a sniff, and Jasper Fletcher. Yeah. But the Hugh McCluggages as well kind of came in late into the piece in terms of, he kind of cashed in once the floodgates had opened. And that's not to say they didn't play well, but you'd have to, as the Norm Smith voters did and as we did as well, Will Ashcroft was probably there from the beginning and then was consistent throughout the whole day, as was Harris Andrews, which is why they got max votes. Yeah. Or close to, in our voting.
Sweet. Well, that's the granny done. That's it. Now the real stuff begins.
The fun stuff.
Yeah. Actually, but we're going to continue doing wash-ups. So, well, we're down to Melbourne.
Maybe we should start with you.
What went right? What went wrong?
Well, kids
went right. Yeah.
What went wrong? Naz.
Well, like a lot actually went right. Like the amount of games that we lost by close margin.
Yeah, there's a fair few. Jack Viney getting 3 votes.
That's a win.
That was a little win.
That's a 2-tick.
I am very optimistic about Stephen King.
Yeah,
I think he's got a bit of aura about him. It would have been nicer if he came straight from the premiership. Actually, I think before I heard him speak at the presser, like the announcement presser, I thought he had more aura. But then, like at the presser, I was like, I don't know. He just seemed a bit less intimidating. I think
I got
because he was very friendly.
BFG.
He looks scary
BFG
from a distance.
Is a great nickname for him.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be a good coach. I just don't think he has that he's not going to have a wow factor. Yeah. A bit like what people thought of Uze.
Yeah. I don't know until I want to see a couple of presses after a win and then after a loss and see how he goes.
I also thought he in his opening presser he was still real interview he's had his interview settings on. Yeah. Because he's sitting next to Green and Guerra and obviously he had a lot of I think he had a lot of terms he probably used in his interview and he still seemed like he's just kind of in that vibe. So I think once whips start cracking you'll get a good look at who he is. Yeah. But I reckon he'll be a good coach.
Well, what can you tell us from the Geelong?
Well, it seems like just about any line we've only had him for a couple of years, but I think he's taking a midfield. Midfield? I think so. But everyone has just said he's a great coach. Obviously got pretty close to the West Coast job last year.
Yeah.
Was that the Bulldogs?
He was at the Bulldogs when they won in 2016 and was part of the VFL program as well. Was at the Suns.
Took over them for a bit.
Yeah. When Stewie Dew got sacked, he had 7 games in charge, I think. So he's really rated wherever he's been.
Yeah. I think in terms of Melbourne, I think we what went wrong obviously was all the losses on field, but I think where we went right were all the off-field moves that were made in the off season. I think so. Getting in a president CEO, taking a bit of the load off of Max, getting in a coach, making moves. It looks like we're going to be making moves in the trade period too. Yeah. I don't think we're loading up on draft anymore.
You just don't have picks. Yeah. If you lose track, that'll be.
I don't even mind. Losing Petrarca.
I think this is the year, and we probably didn't anticipate it early from the start. Obviously, we could have been going and such a shuffle at the board level, even players. This is the year where this is the reset. New coach, maybe Petrarca does leave. Maybe you get in a couple of young kids, but then you've put in time to Langford and the Lindsays of the team. Obviously, you got Pickett. Signed him on.
Signing him, yeah.
And now hopefully it's a mini reset for Melbourne. Now that's to say they're going to be contenders next year, but it's now you flip the narrative into so we've got the pieces and the stable pieces in place, and now you can kind of use that as a launch pad as opposed to still being topsy-turvy under Goodwin and then what's Oliver doing, what's Petrarca doing now. It's you've got a bit more feet on the ground in terms of making those big decisions. And I think that's where you can see some improvement next year. It might not necessarily translate to on-field, but I think now you've got a lot more stability
Yeah.
when you didn't have that in the last few years, definitely.
Yeah. I'm still in the camp that we weren't actually that far off, but we just didn't know how to win.
He had some,
Well, that's-
he had some poor losses.
Yeah.
He had some close losses, but he also had some really poor losses.
Like, I don't know if they're locked in next year, but the Alice Springs and like those trips, I think just really blow. Like, if we're going badly,
Yeah.
we lose. That kills so much momentum.
Seems
If,
like
if
you're
we're
always-
going well, it's
Yeah.
I don't know. So
Seems
anyway,
like you're always gassed the week after, given
yeah.
the kind of conditions you're playing in.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to make this another Melbourne podcast. Port Adelaide.
Well, I think looking back on it, the succession plan,
Yeah.
I think they should have either just bitten the bullet or just gone, you know what, we're just going to leave Ken for 2025 and then Carr, behind the scenes, kind of like Sydney. Everyone probably anticipated Dan Cox to take over John Longmire, but when they made the call after the granny last year, it was like, yeah, understood, but they just handled it, I think, perfectly, regardless of the results this year. Because then this whole season was about should they have done it, should they have not, as opposed to maybe celebrating one of the Port Adelaide's best coaches, or definitely one of the best modern day coaches, and just getting them to the point where, they're kind of it's about their football as opposed to just what's going on behind the scenes. So that again, that kind of inconsistency throughout the year, and then that fed into on field, which was just poor, coming off a prelim loss last year, and finals for many years prior to outside the 8, which was a bit of a shame.
Sorry, did you have anything on that? Because I just wanted to, like, with Ken Hinkley, like, now we're a few weeks removed, and the season's been over for them for a long time. I am seeing a lot more positive comments about him, and I mean, it's been all year, like, that he was a really successful coach.
100%.
Like, was he?
Yep. And again, it's not just the on-field, the ladder, I think, as well. Like, you take a club, and it's kind of like what Fagan did. You take a club that's on its knees, and when he took over, they were struggling.
Yeah.
They were in dire straits until, again, now you have a figurehead that people want to come play for, that people attach themselves to, that people don't want to leave. So you obviously got Travis Boak and that whole story with Geelong opts to stay. And again, he's part of the big reason why they
Because of Ken.
returned. And yeah, and I think that can go understated, because obviously we look at the wins and losses, we look at premierships, we look at the ladder. And so he's arguably one of the most winning coaches in home and away over the last 15 years or 10 years. But obviously just didn't get that flag.
Yeah.
So even to the point,
We didn't even get a grand final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've proven before, even talking about Chris Scott and Chris Fagan, like how hard it is to win those flags. And would you prefer to be Geelong or Brisbane? Like, Port Adelaide were around the mark, but when you have teams like that to compete against, it's almost impossible to knock them off. So I think, and he even said it himself, like, he doesn't see himself as a successful coach, and I don't like that narrative, because it's not all about premierships, because only one team out of 18, soon to be 19 and probably 20 in the next few years, are only going to win a flag.
Yeah.
So realistically, on average, you should win one every 20 years. Now, obviously, the same clubs continue to win them, just the way it is at the moment. But I don't think Port Adelaide were that far off.
All right.
It's kind of interesting, the whole home and away stuff. Like, you could argue Chris Scott's kind of a good home and away coach. Like, he's got a less than 50% win rate in finals. He gets them to prelims, doesn't quite get them much past that very often, though. So, yeah, it depends how you look at Ken. I don't know. I don't have much thoughts, to be honest. He was there for a long time. Don't know if it was a good time. I think it was kind of Port Adelaide fans were happy to see him go.
Yeah.
Happy to also celebrate him a little bit.
For me, like, I always felt like half the year was spent Ken just battling the media, or like South Australian media.
Yeah.
For most of his career.
And that's why I think they went wrong.
Yeah.
It was like they almost left him out to dry based on the decision. Now, he obviously maybe did agree to it, but I think that was just...
He would have faced questions all year, though, anyway. Like, if he didn't re-sign and he just left his contract open and they hadn't made a call before the season, there would have just been questions every week, like, have you made a decision? What does the club think? And obviously when the results turned bad, which they were pretty quickly, like, it would have been mounting pressure and then he would have been sacked. I didn't really like the handover, but I think the alternative probably wasn't going to be better anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a lose-lose unless he just stepped aside at the end of last year, which didn't seem like he was going to anyway. So
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, last segment, which is brought to you by getdrafted.com.au, Australia's #1 selection for local footy talent, Post your player profile now. Get noticed. Get challenged. Getdrafted.com.au. So this is Draft Matchmaker. We're going to be doing the Bulldogs, Hawthorn, and Gold Coast. So we'll pitch what we think they need in terms of draft, what pick they have, and then you tell us.
Yep.
You match us up with a prospect. So you want to start with the doggies?
Well, Bulldogs pick 10.
Yeah.
Now, we have spoken before on this in terms of key defensive options that high in the draft. And I think Harry Dean is obviously linked to Carlton there. Bulldogs seemingly looking like they're going to bolster their key defensive stocks, but maybe another midfielder. So at that pick, because obviously we know that there's not too much high-end talent in terms of key position players or key defensive position players.
Yeah, I don't hate the midfield core, especially because Bont's 30 odd.
That's
good.
good.
And Libba's probably
Libba's
just signed a
passed
one-year deal,
a little bit. So who's accompanying Ed Richards in the midfield in the future? Like Riley Sanders with the Tassie question mark. So I don't mind the midfield call. What do they go for though? Would you say pick 10?
10. At the moment.
Yeah, Sam Grill or Josh Lindsay if they want a bit outside run. I like Sam Cumming maybe, like half forward. Can play outside of midfield, which has kind of hurt them a little bit in years gone by. The Dogs have got players who can really only play midfield. When you talk about Bailey Smith and Jack McRae, so who's a player with some dynamism that can run through midfield, and Noah Hibbins-Hargreaves is probably another one. So maybe a Sam Cumming or Noah Hibbins-Hargreaves. I think Cumming might not be available to them at pick 10. He's probably got a pretty wide range, to be fair. And knowing that Hibbins-Hargreaves will probably be in that mid-teens, when we talk about bids and compos, when the Dogs are finally on the clock, he might be one that's a bit more matched up with them. Yevon Philippou's one we've spoken about before. Obviously, their old man played for the Dogs, and his brother plays for the Saints. Jacob Farrell's another one we've spoken about. Harley Barker, maybe more of a pure wing, outside runner, good kick, smart ball user, hard worker. So, locking down just conventional wings isn't that common because not a lot of them come through the draft. But you think about if you can draft in Ed Langdon, and you can rely on a player like that, then that'd be pretty nice. So Harley Barker's another one. But yeah, if I pick, I'll say Sam Cumming for the matchmaker side of it.
Nice.
Cool.
Hawks, so they got pick 8. Now, we might assume that this could be used in some sort of trade, but if it's not, and they take it to the draft, clearly they're targeting midfielders, so we'll stick with that trend in terms of draftees.
Yeah, I mentioned it before. I'd say Sam Grill might be good for them. They just need a bit of pace through midfield. Newcomb, Day, Mackenzie and Ward a little, but they just need a bit more run, speed, line breaking for a player who can slot straight through the middle, go across halfback and run up the field or slot him onto a wing. So Sam Grill's probably arguably the quickest player in the draft, but he's also pretty damaging with his disposal and his decision making around stoppage.
So you're going to make it to pick 8?
Could. Yeah, it'll be interesting, but he could. Just depends what some of the clubs ahead of him want when you're talking about Essendon and Richmond, maybe. But then Gold Coast are in that bracket and they won't get him. Trying to figure out who else is in there in the draft order. But Port, no, they don't have a pick. So he could get to them.
Okay.
And then Gold Coast first pick, which I believe is linked to Port's pick 6, but they've got a heap of academy players coming
that's
through,
probably where we'll just go with that. They've probably got 2 that will potentially fetch bids as early as pick 3 in Dylan Patterson, who's this pacey, aggressive flanker who can kind of probably going to be best suited to roll across halfback. But yeah, he's probably been one of the most impressive players this year and just hunts the footy and just goes for it. Zeke Ulan hasn't played a lot this year just due to injury, but has pretty much remained in pick 1 conversations, which is credit to him and also probably a bit of reflection on the quality of this year's draft. But he's another kind of outside option. Could probably play forward at AFL level, but another one who could slot in at halfback, roll through to the middle, booming kick, and just knows where to be when hunting the footy.
Cool.
Love it.
All right. This is our penultimate episode of the Hitout for the year. I think it's been a fantastic year. First year for us. It feels like we've been doing it for years now. But we started. It's been a long season or has it been a short season?
We had a different name when we started. That's how.
That was one episode.
Well, it was like 1.5 because we didn't have a name for one episode as well.
We put it out to the masses.
It took about 3 or 4 episodes to get our actual name.
I like the name though.
I mean it's second nature now.
Yeah.
But Okay, so what's next for us? We got
Before that
trade.
final episode.
Yep.
Yeah, well, obviously trade.
Well, on hanger.
Yeah, yeah. Free agency opens on Friday. Trade period on Monday, so that'll take over a fair bit, and we'll have a bit of a preview for that this week. For those that like their trade free agency stuff, craft of the draft will be pretty much kicking up more than settling down. We'll have a mock draft this week with the draft order settled after the final series finished. Plus, interviews, profiles, and our classic weekly episodes as well. So for those that haven't gone across Craft the Draft or have seen this and that, it's going to be ramping up with plenty of good content. Yeah,
and I've just come up, just as you were talking, I had some ideas for our last episode of the Hitout. So keep an eye out for that.
Do tell.
No. I'll tell you that. We need a little bit of sizzle for the finale for the Hitout. So thank you. Congratulations, Brisbane. Condolences, mate.
Yep.
Commiserations. And we'll catch you on the next one. Bye. Cool.